Good morning and welcome back to Mull. Not a breath of wind this morning, and as you can see, the Firth of Larne behind me is like a mirror. And I've come out again to Grass Point to try and avoid the majority of the midge. Seems to be working for the first 20 seconds. Let's see how we go. So today we're moving on to another one of the body's vital organs, and it's the main pump that we're looking at today, the heart. And we've covered this a little bit in the talk we did on the circulatory system, but again, always worth revisiting and maybe having a little look more in detail at what exercise actually does for the heart. So today's message really is exercise is an insurance policy for your heart going forward. Now, in terms of the mechanics, we have 4 chambers in the heart. So as I've mentioned before, we've got 2 upper chambers and 2 lower chambers. And blood flows into the right hand side of your heart from the rest of your body, deoxygenated blood, and travels through your right atrium and then down through a non-return valve, drops into the right ventricle, and that is pushed out to the lungs. And there that blood will gather oxygen through the respiratory system and then brings it back into the left hand side of your heart. So you now have oxygenated blood ready to fuel activity in all your other body's tissues, and that comes into the left atrium, again through a non-return valve into the left ventricle, and the left ventricle pushes that oxygenated blood out through your aorta and out to all your other tissues to keep them well perfused with oxygen and let you carry out all your daily activities and exercise if that's what you're doing at that current time. As that blood goes out through the aorta, you also have coronary arteries that come off almost straight away, and they actually feed the heart because the heart is obviously living tissue and it needs oxygen as well. And we have a quite an amazing little network of coronary arteries that spread out all over the heart tissue. And down the middle of the heart, to separate both sides, you have a thin muscular wall called a septum. So, all living tissue needs oxygen, and therefore the heart is absolutely critical to our survival. And it's also critical for getting rid of waste products too. So this pumping system that's continually going on is not just supplying oxygenated blood, it's also taking away waste products. For example, carbon dioxide is coming back to the lungs to be breathed out, and we can't cope very well when our carbon dioxide levels get too high. So in terms of the benefits to you of exercise and the benefits to the heart in particular, well, when we train on a regular basis, we tend to drop our blood pressure. And I know that's one of the first things that the GP will check when you do eventually see a GP face to face. There'll probably be a lot of blood pressure checking going on, and it's one of the things that we check at Healthy Options when people come to us, because quite often it's an early warning system for potential coronary heart disease in the future. And we also check resting heart rate as well. So if blood pressure is high, it can put additional pressure on the pump. The pump's having to work that bit harder all the time, and that can lead to heart failure. And we also check resting heart rate because, again, if that's high, excuse me, it can be a sign and a pointer to the fact that there's a problem. And one of the things we do see with training, with people that start to become more active, they're just starting, is a reduction in resting heart rate. Because if the heart is, in a sense, fitter and more powerful, then it doesn't have to pump as many times. And one of the other one of the other benefits to you from exercise is that your muscle tissue becomes a better user of oxygen. And again, that means that the heart doesn't have to supply as much oxygenated blood, and it doesn't have to beat as often. So again, we'll see a reduction in heart rate. And in terms of blood pressure, regular exercise will tend to drop your cholesterol levels as well. And again, that's a good thing in terms of trying to reduce blood pressure. We find that arteries dilate more readily in those that are trained, that exercise on a regular basis, which means that they can open up quicker, and again that means that blood pressure doesn't have to go as high, and there's less pressure on the pump itself, on the heart. And in terms of that lovely little network of coronary arteries that we have that surround the heart and keep the oxygenated blood to the pump, this is one of the areas that we worry about in terms of a blockage in a coronary artery, and this can lead to angina, where we get a gradual narrowing of one of these arteries, or a potential blockage which can lead to heart attack. And if we have a heart attack, then usually one of the smaller coronary arteries gets a blockage in it, and the area of tissue on the heart that artery supplies effectively dies unless we can get some blood clotting medication into people very quickly. Often that's not quick enough by the time we actually get to hospital, get to A&E. And effectively a small area of the heart actually dies. The amazing thing about the heart is with training, what we see is that the heart can almost set up little diversions, and coronary arteries start to branch off and work their way around to try and get oxygen to areas of the heart that perhaps have died, and where they normally can't get that blood supply through. So our hearts are amazing things, our bodies are amazing things in terms of how we try to recover from setbacks like this. Your heart will also develop a stronger contraction by training it on a regular basis, and especially the left-hand side of the heart gets thicker. Now it's the side that, remember, has to pump oxygenated blood out around the entire body, so it's the stronger side, and we often see a thickening of the ventricle wall there, and also sometimes the ventricle, in terms of size of the chamber, actually increases, so it can pump more blood out with every beat. So effectively your cardiac output increases, and that just means you're getting more oxygenated blood around your system with every beat, and it's a sign of fitness that we see in those that train on a regular basis. The beat also becomes more efficient. So I'll not get too scientific, but basically what's happening is a signal is coming from the brain to the heart to beat, and on the right side of your heart there is a little node, a little center that signal hits and fires off, and you get electrical activity spreading across the top two chambers of your heart. So the right and left atria, they pump first as that electrical activity moves across, and then almost right in the middle of the heart there's another little node that fires off and spreads electrical activity across the two bottom chambers. So the two top chambers go first, and they pump blood down into the ventricles, and then the bottom two chambers pump, and they pump blood out to the lungs and out to the rest of the body. And that sequence is always going on. So this is why you get sort of two beats when you hear a heartbeat. You get two noises. It's often referred to as lup-dup if you're listening on the stethoscope. So the efficiency of that process improves with training. So basically the sort of nerve impulses get a bit more organized, which means you're more efficient. So basically it's like having a highly tuned pump through regular exercise. And if that of course means that you're getting more oxygenated blood to your body's tissues, you're getting more waste removal, and you're effectively improving your endurance. So at any given work level, your heart will be working less hard than it needs to if you're trained. So the message is pressure the pump, not pressure the pump, push the pump, train the pump, and make sure that we're looking after that very vital organ, because it's not one you can do without, obviously. So hopefully you'll get out today and do that very thing. And I've got away with it not too bad. There are a few midges around, but this was okay. Grass Point is obviously the place to go on midgy days. I hope you've had a lovely weekend, and we'll catch up with you later on with exercise of the day. Remember, this week we are dropping down to 3 messages for Mull, so it'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it'll be the same with the exercises. That'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And as Jill said last week, remember, please send your emails to your allocated fitness professional as we start to look to set up more one-to-one sessions and live classes via Zoom. We do need your emails gathered in, and Jill put that out on the WhatsApp group on Friday. We haven't had very many in, so if you just give us 30 seconds of your time, send your email address to myself, Katie, or Ian. We are hoping to have April back at some point, but if you can do that in the meantime, and we'll start to collate those. And it just means that when we eventually go live, we've got all your information there. And just send them to our personal WhatsApps. I know you can't respond to this, but send it to our personal WhatsApp, and that'll be very helpful for us going forward. So take care, guys, and stay safe, and I'll see you later on.